back.
From Thunderhill, it was on to High Plains in Colorado, where the Dodge Caravan actually led Class C for a stretch.
It wasn't trivial. Thankfully, Thunderhill to Denver is not actually that far. I think it's about 700 miles. I spent a day enjoying Reno. This was the start of a long run of me getting to a hotel just after the pool closes and the hot tub being broken.
Till the team broke one of its cardinal rules: don't let Zach touch the car. Zach tried to jack up the car, lost the jack, somehow broke the timing cover, and that took them completely out of contention for a Class C win, but they did win the I Got Screwed award.
So at some point between Thunderhill and HPR, I stopped by a tire rack and bought some new wheels and tires. We slapped them on there and we learned that the wheels are actually, the race setup is actually about 2 inches shorter than the stock wheels and tires, even though the wheels are bigger. Which is cool, except that it means that our top speed is limited by about 10% down. The good news is that they're real sticky. And with a bunch of weight over the fronts and sticky tires, we actually are fairly fast in the rain, roughly at pace. And we can drive pretty confidently because of all the weight. So we did really well in HPR. We led Class C for a while, and then the part I didn't think about is that with the smaller wheels, the higher final drive, everything's moving faster at the axle for any given speed, but the weight hasn't changed because the wheels and tires weigh basically the same. So braking was 10% harder. Also, High Plains is at several thousand feet elevation, so the air is super thin. And when your brakes are air cooled, that's important. So this is when we really started realizing how bad the brake problem was. We started burning through pads, went and got more pads, and the breakdown was me. I'm still mad at myself about this. I threw the jack underneath the van, and I thought I was on the spot that I usually jack from, but I didn't check. I remember looking at it thinking, man, I should check my jack point. Nah, it'll be fine. And it was not fine. The crankcase cover on the bottom left of the van it cracked and fell off, and so you can't put water into the block, and that's a problem. So we spent a very rainy Sunday trying to fix that problem and failing. So none of my guys got to race on Sunday, and I still feel bad about that.
I Got Screwed went to the Vannonball. Now, if you watched the Thunderhill wrap-up, you know that the Vannonball is a 2006 Dodge Caravan that started in the Midwest, drove on the street to Thunderhill, completed that race, and is now here at High Plains, and next weekend will be at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Now, the Caravan was running pretty well all weekend, but it was chewing through brakes, and on Sunday, they made the mistake of breaking one of their cardinal 5 rules, which...
There's 5 rules to the race van. The keys are in the tailgate. All the doors open differently. Don't let Zach touch the car. No. Every switch goes to the driver's side for operational. So the keys are always in the tailgate is... I always lose the keys, but you can't open the tailgate without the keys. So anytime we lose the keys, what's happened is I have used it to open the tailgate, and they are in the tailgate. Usually open and hiding because it's up here. All the doors open differently is a function of it being a very old van. Some of them open from the inside, some of them open from the outside, some of them lock randomly, some of them never lock. Every door opens differently. I forget what the other rules are. Rule number 5 is don't let Zach touch things. This is why.
Was don't let Jack touch the car. We don't know what the deal is with Jack, but it's one of their 5 rules, and they broke it.
I've not gotten a clear answer as to how I became Jack in this bit. We did try to make a theme out of it later by making everything about the van Jack themed. Made it a Jack in the Box, and all of the drivers dressed as various Jack Black characters. But then we ended up working on the van the whole weekend, and it didn't actually matter. Themes are hard unless your car runs really well.
Jack tried to jack up the car, he misplaced the jack, and broke a timing cover and ruined the rest of the race.
At least he didn't have to get to the East Coast immediately afterward.
So we got really lucky. I was sitting there I was stranded, honestly. Once the award ceremony ended up and my drivers had started heading home, I didn't have a tow vehicle. I did not have a running van. And I got the idea that the people that ran the racetrack would not be comfortable with me staying there overnight. I feel like a lot of places, maybe they have security until Monday morning, so you can camp out Sunday night. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it was not the case here at High Plains. So I was in immediate need of getting the van off of the property, finding a place to stay, and finding solutions to fixing the car I had broken. And in what is honestly just the most magical moment in Lemons, two guys walked by my paddock. I think they were looking for me. They knew I was around, but I hadn't sought them out. I hadn't actually started asking people for favors yet to help me out. Two guys walked by, and one of them looked at it and said, it's a clean break. You could just TIG weld that. I've got the equipment at the house. If you can get it to me in Denver, I could, weld it up for you. And I thanked him kindly and got his phone number because that sounded like an offer I would probably need. And so about 5 minutes later, another guy came by and said to me, our car actually finished the race. We're not going to have to tow it home. I've got an open spot on my tow rig if you need it to go anywhere. And I said, thank you. Let me connect you with the guy from before. And that's exactly what happened. And I got to the guy's house, and we looked at it. We bought some parts. We ran around evaluating it, got some lunch, and then he thankfully went to work. And I tried to be helpful, but it was clear that I was not helpful, so I ended up doing some yard work for him. He had a couple of things on his list that his wife needed him to do that day while he was off. And I think I dug a trench for his gutter system or something while he was TIG welding, and then JB welding. And that fix has lasted 5,000 miles. I left Denver and made it to central Kansas, I guess, that day. And by the time you're in Kansas, you can just gnaw on you can just bite the air. And it was nice to be able to breathe again. And then after that, it was a couple of easy days from Kansas through Missouri, through Ohio to stay with Mike Berge, and then to New Jersey. So we will hop back into the Lemons story here.
Fortunately, Zach went with the option of fixing the van, which he did, arriving in NJMP just in time to get inspected and hit the track. It went on to finish 87th out of 130 percentage-wise. I think that's slightly better than its previous two events, maybe.
Event-specific trophy for this one was living in a van down by the racetrack, and it went to...
This joke was made 1 billion times. Yes, living in a van down by the river. Yes, I have the build of Chris Farley and Mark Foley.
Vannonball 2023. Now, if you are current on your Lemons wrap-ups, you'll know that Zach had driven from his home in Kentucky to 3 races on consecutive weekends that were nowhere near each other. Zach threw some rookies in the van, and they drove terribly, as they have for this entire trip. Didn't really bother anybody, burned up the brakes, burned up the tires, and crucially was the center of the party on Saturday night.
NJMP is the hardest partying race on the schedule as far as I'm concerned. I have never had so much fun. Three Pedal Mafia really knows how to throw down, and they make that race totally theirs. The video here is, at some point, someone told me that there had been a record set by some land yacht years and years ago at a Lemons race, and the record was most number of people in or on a Lemons car that does a lap of the paddock. And that number, they said, was, I think, 56. And so we proceeded to try to find 57 people to get into the van, get on the van, and figure out how to drive it around the paddock. What you see here is what I honestly believe to be the maximum capacity of that vehicle without using ratchet straps to just attach people to the car, and that number is 50. And by the time we got there, people were very excited, and I looked at the situation and realized that there was no way that we could get the van moving without putting a lot of people in danger. So we just enjoyed testing the suspension, because it was, you figure 50 people at 180 pounds apiece, there was like 10 tons of people in the car. It was an absolute blast, and I am so grateful that those photos exist.
When we got to the end of the weekend, we threw him the living in a van down by the racetrack trophy and did what any sane race organizers would do in this situation. We offered him a free entry to the 4th race the following weekend, 800 miles away in Michigan.
I have a video of this. I'll insert it here. It's really cool. I'm really lucky to have the coolest moment in my life, not only on record, but recorded in high def 360 video. You'll see that I do a shoey on my way up to the thing. I guess that kind of became a thing I did. And you can hear me go, "Oh no," when Eric says something, when I realize what's about to happen. Because I as soon as he hints to it, I realize a couple of things are true all at once. One is that I am very, very tired and ready to go home. And 2, there's no way I can go home if they tell me that there's another race and I've got a registration for it. So.
And who can turn down a free entry, even if it means driving thousands of miles out of your way?
A reasonable person, which I am not.
But Zach did it. He drove from NJMP to Gingerman, raced at Gingerman, where the van finally melted down its brakes for the last time. Zach had run into this problem a few times in the past, but this time I think his energy level finally reached its limit. He parked the car, didn't have a great overall result, but he did win the org choice.
The gentleman here in the blue shirt next to me, and there's a few other people who I have thanked, but this guy and his team, they came that week as a dad theme, like lawnmowers, white New Balances, and literally there was a moment, because the van was breaking down and everything was being tough, that I got really discouraged. And I honestly, I walked over to the judges. I don't know that I was just going to go home early. I was just going to pack up and head home, because if I had left by about noon on Sunday, I could make it home in a day. And I see these guys, and somewhere this video exists. I don't have it, but they put me on the lawnmower, and these 4 dads, just the daddiest of dads, give me a pep talk. And I ride the lawnmower off into the distance. That was a bit. And when they finished, I wasn't totally convinced I shouldn't just go home. But another good friend of mine, I sat down and I told him what I was thinking, and he looks at me and goes, "Well, you can do that, or you can chill out for like 3 hours, go do 5 laps at the final, take the checkered flag, and actually finish the thing you started." And he wasn't being judgy about it. There was no like undertone of accusations of cowardice or anything. He just, you can go home, or you could chill here for a couple hours.
According to Zach, here are the final numbers. There were 4 Lemons races on 4 consecutive weekends over 30 days, about 1,700 track miles, over 5,000 highway miles.
I am the very tired race fanboy.
I really was.